Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Resident Evil Code Veronica X. In the last part, we explored around the early areas of the military training facility, and now it's time for us to see what's behind door number 2. I recommend, if you haven't, going to grab the M100Ps from the item box if you've stored them, because they're going to be pretty handy coming up. Because this room has one of my least favorite parts of the game within it. Remember this little corner right here for what's about to happen, by the way. Over here, there's a submachine gun. It isn't loaded, but we can see some ammo on screen right over there. Now, if we remember correctly, someone was looking for a fully automatic weapon, right? Well, finally found it. Meet the thing that killed that guy last part. This is the Bandersnatch. Very stretchy enemy. They only have one attack, and that's really to just swipe their palm at you from a long distance. They can also go up or down stairs at an alarming rate because they can just jump down. That particular Bandersnatch has more health than all the other ones, but the M100P is very effective against them because it's essentially 2 bullets within a very fast time frame. So you can just spam the X button or the A button, whatever you're using to fire, and take them out pretty quickly. Just keep your distance from them. Steve, that was cool.
Oh yeah, that felt good. Don't worry, Claire. Your knight in shining armor is here.
You wish. But thanks for the help.
See? This is why you need me. I got your back.
Whatever. Here, take these.
Machine guns? For me?
You know the deal, in exchange for your Lugers.
Okay. This thing is too cool. Yes! Now this is my kind of weapon. All right! Huh? Hey, this thing's empty. You cheated me.
And you just tried to waste ammo.
Up there, plenty of ammo, just for you.
Way up there?
Give me a boost and I'll get it for you.
All right. Ow! My back! You're heavier than you look. Hurry up!
Happy now?
What?
Now that your knight has made his appearance, he can join you in your descent into death.
Okay, let's do it! Wait here, Claire. Time to test out my new toy.
And now we get to play as Steve. Great. My favorite. With that said, he is armed with the submachine guns, and it is automatic, so anytime you just hold the button, it constantly fires. But he's also a case where you can use multi-aiming. I brought it up, I think, a part or two ago, and the M100Ps can also do this. By tapping it's the L button on the GameCube, it's like L1, I think, on the PlayStation versions, you can target 1 zombie or 2 zombies at any time. It's not very useful on a lot of occasions because there's only a couple times they throw that many zombies at you that can come at you from multiple directions. But still, it's there, and I kind of wish they did more with that moving forward in the series, because I don't recall it being in Remake. And I don't think there's a weapon that can do that in Zero, that this is the only game you can really do it in. And I think there's potential you could do with this if you had a weapon that was either strong enough for it or if there were enough enemies coming at you from multiple occasions. By the way, feel free to just use all the ammo you can as Steve here. This is the only time you play as him in the game, and it really is meant to be kind of a power trip where he's just wasting all of his ammo. It's not like the game, punishes you for using all the ammo here. So, feel free. Just keep in mind some of these rooms and what's in them for later, because we will need to grab what we can get here later on. Like, I think there's some grenade rounds you can grab here, but there's no real point to grabbing them as Steve. I'm not even sure if he can grab them. He might say, like, I don't need these or some shit like that. Notable, though, Steve got a little bit of a change in Code Veronica X. They changed his haircut from the Dreamcast version. I believe because they wanted him to look less like Leonardo DiCaprio, because he was in some movie that got big around that time. I'm not sure if it was Titanic or something else. It's ultimately a very nothing changed, but it's what they kept moving forward whenever he showed up, like in Darkside Chronicles, I think it was, that slightly retold this game. Or was it Umbrella Chronicles? I can't remember which one did what between those two.
It was dirty work, but this area is now clean. See? You can depend on me. You see? This thing is a lot more reliable than any person.
Than people? Steve, what were you doing here? Who brought you here, and where is your family?
Shut up! I don't want to talk about it!
Steve.
Never mind. Let's get going.
That is another... That scene is another reason on why I really just do not like Steve. I get the arc they're trying to do here, and obviously we're not done with his character arc yet, so we're going to see a little more. But I feel what they were trying to portray just kind of was failed with what it was represented as here. From what I remember about the Chronicles game that they retold Code Veronica in, they handle him and what they intended for him a lot better. That doesn't mean what they do is inherently good, but at least appreciate the better execution.
Claire, are you okay?
Steve, behind you!
No.
What's wrong, Steve? Shoot him!
Wait! I can't! No!
Steve! No! Ah!
Father!
How did none of that hit Claire?
Steve.
Father. 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 Dad used to work for Umbrella. Tried to steal information, intending to sell it off to the highest bidder. He was caught. Mom was killed. And we were sent here.
Oh, Steve.
He was a fool to do something so reckless. So stupid.
It's okay now. Just rest.
The game doesn't really go into Steve and his father's history, besides the fact they've been imprisoned here. But I do at least like that scene. That's probably my favorite scene for Steve in the game. Only because it's a lot easier to sympathize with him than in some of the other occasions. Because sometimes I feel people, when playing this game and commenting about his bad decisions and artificial lengthening the game, also do forget, and he is a kid still. He's only 17. He's the youngest Resident Evil character that's not Sherry, if memory serves. And I guess, technically Lucia from Gaiden, and I forget the name of the character from Revelations 2, but them as well. It's one of those things where he makes stupid decisions. The reasons why, because he's so young, makes sense. But it's still easy to aggravate the people playing. With that said, we've now reached the painting room. That eagle plate there is an indigo plate that looks like a shield, and we've seen 2 such holes we can use such a thing. And I'm not sure if you can use that at either one. There's definitely one they want you to use it at. And I don't even think you can access the other one again for a bit yet. So I guess which one we have to use that's pretty straightforward. No matter what you do at this point, if you try to talk to Steve, he won't say anything. Because there are a couple of occasions where he's just standing there and you can talk to him and he'll say a line that's relevant-ish to the situation. I guess they've been doing that since Resident Evil 1 had a couple occasions like that, I think. I at least like that you can interact with him. But since we have the golden Lugers, our next goal is more obvious. Also, why is there just a giant World War II tank here? I won't even say that's an Umbrella thing. That's definitely an Ashford thing. But why? Even knowing later parts of the game, it's still one of the weirdest parts of this entire base. With that said, once you enter this room, run immediately because we're back in the room with the Gulp Worm. And you don't want to get instant killed. I think it's honestly safer to come from this room through that way, though, because I think the worm takes longer to spawn there for some reason. Going into what I was talking about earlier, though, the military training facility is probably my favorite part of the game at this point. If only because it's very close-knit, you don't really backtrack within it too often. At this point in the game, you just kind of go in a circle around it once or twice, and then you're done. It's very straightforward to the point. Compared to a lot of other parts of the game where there's an extra layer of fluff you need to do, I appreciate this section. With that said, let's use that eagle plate here to see what we got here. This is, I think it's just called the Indigo card key, the emblem card. This allows you to open any card key readers that are the exact same color. And there was a couple of those back downstairs where we were just talking with Steve, so we need to go use the elevator to get back down there. Also, when we were in this room, at the very end of the last part, you may have noticed it. There was a rat that ran underneath this shutter as it closed. I'll talk more about that rat as we go, but it's a really funny, just kind of secondary storyline that the game tells in the background that only really is explained if you do the battle game you unlock for beating the game, which returns from, I think Resident Evil 2 had it first and then Resident Evil 3. I'll talk more about the battle game probably towards the end of the game with the credits, because I never really talked about them in any of the games to any real length. And I think this one works a little bit differently anyway, but what you can find there is kind of funny. With that said, there's not many new items we need to grab since we're not leaving the military training facility until I think later next part, so you don't need to worry about grabbing old items. We just need this emblem card to go grab some other items we can grab at this point. Also, I haven't really talked about it. By and large, this game controls the exact same as every single other Resident Evil. I know I'm very late in saying that. Usual tank controls, R to aim and all that. The weird thing is, the game controls well, because it's the exact same control scheme, more or less. But I do feel some of the level design is made a lot curvier in a way that makes moving around a little more annoying. Like, you still have the 180 turn from Resident Evil 3 where you press, it's like the equivalent of circle or B and the backwards button at the exact same time, so you don't need to, like, rotate around in place. But I feel rotating around in place isn't as smoothly done in this game. If I recall correctly, you actively just spin, you don't, like, walk around in a circle like I think you did in Resident Evil 1 through 3. But I'm also not actively doing it right now, so I can't exactly say. Well, maybe you do walk. Welcome back down to the basement that Steve just charged through. Don't worry about that gas. It doesn't actively harm you if you walk in it, if memory serves. I just avoid it because it just looks like it would. The best thing we saw was in this area earlier, because if you looked behind here, you noticed there was what looks to be a weapon on that crate right there, and now that we have the emblem card, we can reach it. This is Claire's good old reliable from Resident Evil 2, the grenade launcher. And unlike Resident Evil 2, I find the grenade launcher here is just generally better, because in Resident Evil 2, it had certain uses, like grenade rounds were good for zombies, flame rounds were good for the plants, acid rounds for lickers, but it wasn't very good for boss fights because it ultimately made her arsenal less powerful than Leon's, not to mention she didn't have a direct equivalent to the Magnum. Here, I think the amount of rounds they give you and their effectiveness is a lot more useful. Not to mention, I think it can hold a higher amount of ammo, period, because I don't remember if it can hold any of an amount of a single type of round at a time. The grenade launcher is real good this time around, to the point where I even use it during the final boss. Just be careful with ammo with it, because it is a little sparse in the early portions of the game when you have it. Try to save it for when you're mobbed in a corner or boss fights, I would say. Because the grenade rounds aren't like a straight shot forward. You send a couple of projectiles forward that can do some spread damage. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 5, I think we're going to wrap up our time here in the military training facility and head back towards somewhere else. See you guys then.